Are people bragging? Does it annoy you? Hi there, and welcome back to Ask Dr. Saira, the show where I answer your questions about personal development, spirituality, and mental health. So, our question today comes from Kara. Kara says, how can I be grateful without thinking I am better than other people? There's a fine line between gratitude and bragging. I notice this a lot on social media, bragging disguised as gratitude. It's a great question, Kara. How can I be grateful without thinking I'm better than other people? There is a fine line between gratitude and bragging. I notice this a lot on social media, bragging disguised as gratitude. Yup, I see it too. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? Where somebody's like, oh, I'm so grateful for that. But the tone underneath it is like, oh, look at how special my life is and how amazing I am and my family and my children and da 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 da. Like you can feel it, right? At least I can. I can feel the difference between someone genuinely celebrating something versus the show, right? And it's frustrating to see those posts when you know, like the funniest thing. So I had this acquaintance of mine who I knew was going through like super rough time. I knew it because they had talked to me about it. And yet on social media, it's like everything's beautiful and everything's amazing and look at my little la la la. And I was just like, oh. And so the first thing, the first thing about that is authenticity, right? It's probably bugging you because authenticity is important to you and you don't like to see people kind of like puffing up their own self if it's not coming from a place of groundedness. So what is bragging? I think of bragging as our way of kind of highlighting certain things about us, like putting a magnifying glass on certain things about us and kind of hiding maybe other things. So I think as children, many of us were told not to brag or that, don't have a big head. And so it can be confusing about, okay, well, what's bragging and what's just like good self-esteem and telling people about the good stuff I'm doing? What's the difference? The difference for me is intention, right? What is your intention? Is your intention to impress people with the story, or is your intention to express gratitude? Like truly, genuinely express gratitude. And then you might want to ask yourself, do I need to do that publicly? Do I need the whole world to know? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you really do. And sometimes you just don't, right? So that authenticity is really important. And I think it's hard to know sometimes because things feel so curated a lot of the time now, don't they? Like, is this really this person? Are they just being vulnerable so that they're more likable? Like, what is happening here? So I would say trust your intuition, trust your gut feeling on that. If something feels like it's just kind of a show, it probably is. And even if it's not, maybe that's not the right vibe for you. Maybe that's not the right kind of frequency for what you're moving into and evolving into as a person. So there's healthy self-esteem, right? There's the capacity to take a compliment, the capacity to take a risk and try something new and not be discouraged by failure. That's around healthy self-esteem. But then there's this idea that we're special or better than someone else, right? So healthy self-esteem is about me. Bragging is about me compared to everybody else. You see the difference? When I'm comparing me to me, then that's the standard. The standard is me, and I'm saying, okay, where am I according to my own self and my own history and my own decisions and my own like mistakes from the past. When I'm comparing myself to someone else and I'm saying, oh, I'm better than them, now we're moving into another zone, right? We're moving into a zone of judgment where you're kind of looking down at people and saying, oh, I'm better. And the thing is, you might be way better than many people at certain things, and you're probably way worse than many people at certain things as well, right? So bragging is where we're just highlighting this one thing and we're not showing the whole story of who we are, right? We're not showing the whole backstory of who we are. There's these great images that I saw a few years ago, like I think, was it an Instagram, Facebook? I don't know, one of the social media places where this woman's like posting these pictures, right? So there's like a picture of like a wine glass and strawberries and like a candle, and then it pans out and then you see the rest of her living room. that's like a chaos disaster. And it's like, oh yeah, so I'm just showing you this. And so it's like this funny series of like what's actually going on behind the scenes. And a reminder that, you know, it would be nice to see the whole story because that's what makes people authentic. So if you're finding that you're feeling like you're better than people or you're looking down on people, that's where, you know, you're going into bragging rather than gratitude. Anytime you're comparing yourself to someone else, that's a slippery, dangerous slope in my book. Because we're all here on such different paths and with such different objectives and such different kind of soul purposes that you can't really say that you're better. I mean, you might be like, you know, in a like maybe you're better at a sport than I am. Okay, who cares, right? I think it's a radical way to think this way because we live in a society that was founded on competition, right? Like it's all about who's the strongest, the fastest, who can get more quickly. That's kind of the context that we live in. So it's natural for us to want to compete with each other. And yet, what does the competition leave us? It always leaves losers. There's always a loser in a competition. There's always a winner, and good for you if you're that winner, but there's a lot of losers, right? So just, and again, I know you're asking the question about other people, Kara, like you're not saying you're doing this, but if somebody who's watching is somebody who tends to do that, just kind of think about that, right? Like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Is it because it's easier to just put your best foot forward and not really let people see the other side? What I've found in my life is the more willing I am to show all of me, the more loved I feel. Because when you don't show all of you, you know that there's a secret part of you that if anyone were to find out, they might not like you. But when you let that secret part out and you put it on the table and people see it and they love you anyway, wow, that's so powerful. Check out my TED Talk if you want more around this on fighting your inner demons. Because I talk there about like there are these monsters and if we're not even willing to face them, how are we going to slay them, right? So yeah, I agree that it's easy to brag instead of be grateful. And if you're feeling like somebody's bragging, just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Also, if you feel like someone's bragging, you might want to check in with yourself and say, is there a little bit of envy going on in me? And that's why I'm having a reaction to this post or this interaction, right? That I want what they have and I don't have it. And so now I feel like, oh, they're just bragging. So just kind of do a little check-in with yourself and see if there's any of that going on as well. So those are my thoughts about your question, Kara. Hopefully that was helpful and I will see you next time.